Hello, 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 y'all. I am fortunate enough to be here today with Mr. Gregory Griffith. And Gregory, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Who the heck are you and what are you doing here today?
Who the heck are you? Hey, I'm a brother with a mission I'm on, man. That's all. Just trying to get out here and get my message to someone. Gregory Griffith here, freshly retired from the school system, master's degree in education. I also have a business administration degree, bachelor's, and living here in beautiful Pembroke Pines in my home right now, just chilling out in South Florida. Been in the speaking game for a long time. This is actually my second book. You can see it back there in the background, Activate or Stagnate. But yeah, and I run an entertainment company. I'm a real estate investor, man. I've been doing a lot of things, and I'm going to give all glory to God that I found the key thing that worked for me on this show today to tell you, man, we have to find balance. And I'm here with my message to empower people, to let them know that they can personally be empowered by living a life of balance. I believe that I'm a 25-time marathoner, man. You know, and people, they give me that, like, you did what? I say, yeah, I run 25 marathons. I didn't start to run them until I was 40, teaching in high school at the time too, man, especially these kids. And I started coaching cross country. Boom. So that's a little bit about me. That's where I am now. I've been a real estate investor since 1997, apartment buildings, strip malls, condos. You know, still got an apartment building over there in Tampa by the University of South Florida. So, and I tell people, hey, if I've done it, you can do it.
Well, there you go. And so this path you've kind of taken, when was the first time you actually got up on a stage to speak to an audience, a live
Great
audience?
question. That's very good. Impromptu. I was at Flanagan High School, man, right after 9/11. And I've just moved over to that high school. I retired from the school system after 31 years. And what inspired my book, the one that I have right now, is that every day I would write journals to my students. Every day. Come in here because remember, I'm a special needs teacher. These are kids with significant cognitive deficits, emotionally handicapped, very aggressive, can be violent. I mean, everything you could imagine in 31 years, I probably experienced it. And so I had to find ways to motivate them, to inspire them. So I write journals every day. And man, I compiled about 200 of these journals. And one day I decided, you know what? I wonder if I could speak to my entire exceptional student education, ESE student body. And believe it or not, they allowed me that platform. That was the real first time that I stood in front of people to say, this is my message. This is why I'm doing it. And since then, man, the first paid speech was at a little middle school one afternoon with the Professional Speakers Organization. Dr. Dupree, I'm going to give her a plug. She gave me my training, and I'll never forget my little $75 check. I was excited, like, whoa. And then I fast forward to you. I was at Flanagan High School, and this is the absolute truth, and I'll share this with your readers that it can happen. I was still speaking from the time I told you until this very moment. And one day, had an opportunity to speak for the entire vocational school system in Broward County, Florida. I was going to do it pro bono, just want to go in and do it. And believe it or not, what I call the 25th hour, they invited me. They placed my book in every vocational school in Broward County, which is the sixth largest school district in the country. Not to mention a very handsome fee for being there because of the fact that they bought all those books for me. And that was an aha moment as a speaker, I'm being honest with you, that you can get paid, your story matters, and it can happen. And for me, I mean, I was just so blown away that in that moment, I realized that the potential for me to do this was huge. So I continued to be a school teacher and stayed in the path of entertainment, real estate. But after my retirement last year in 2023, I'm full-time, man. Every day I'm on the grind. Every day I wake up, this is what I do. I just got back from, I went to New Orleans, Nova University here in my area, which is one of the largest private organizations in the university school system. I spoke for the future teachers of tomorrow for that. And I don't know if you ever heard of Best Buddies or not. It is the largest nonprofit in the world for kids with special needs. I was a keynote speaker for that. My point is, getting out there, it seemed like God just decided, when I decided I want to do this full time, I want to make this happen. And the rest is history. Here I am right now. What is this? March 6, 2024.
And so for you in that moment after you spoke at Flanagan High School, what kind of identity did you have at that point? Did you identify, hey, I'm a speaker, I'm going to get paid, or what did that look like? And how did you go about leveraging that one opportunity to kind of be the first flick on a snowball to pile onto more and more and more to lead to where you are now.
Absolutely. What you say, Ryan, the word to move forward with was leverage. Because I went in that auditorium that day, back in whatever year that was that happened, I'm here to tell you the domino effect of what happened after that was incredible, because people always say, man, Mr. Griffith, your enthusiasm is contagious. They'd always tell me that because I was so fired up about the fact that I went in, and I'm not going to tell you it was the greatest presentation. It was just the fact that I did it. I stepped across that fear versus faith threshold. You know what I mean? And say, because the fear monster is always back there telling, no, you can't do it. Like I was 43 years old when I ran my first marathon. Oh, you're over 40, you can't do it, you old fart, you can't, and it was the same thing with getting out in front of people and speaking to them. And when I finally got across that threshold, people in the system saw what I was doing. The book was released back then. This is a new edition of that book. The first release was in 2005. And this is a brand new edition of it. And I'm here to tell you, when I decided to do that and start knocking on doors, all types of opportunities just began to happen. In other words, there's something I call PP3, Ryan. Where there's passion, there will always be possibility. Where there's passion and possibility, you knock on the door, the universe is going to create all the things that you need. Purpose, passion, and possibility. When you got a passion, there's a purpose, the universe will give you possibilities. What you just asked me was a clear example of that. I knocked on the door, I started getting out there, and I'm telling you, man, one thing after another. And the next one was the culmination of me coming back to my high school after that keynote speak, walk in, went to the classroom, and I looked up and saw 30 of my books in that business classroom. Man, that was it for me. And from that day to this, 20 minutes to speak, several $1,000s, exposure beyond reason for me. And that's a credential I'll have for the rest of my life. The assistant superintendent of schools endorsed my book. Things that I never would have imagined, because honestly speaking, I got into education, man, because I have two sons, Gregory and Jonathan, my beautiful wife, Miriam. My wife at the time, this is my second marriage with my wife at the time, man, we had just had Jonathan, my youngest son, man. And honestly speaking, it was a game changer. I went to work one night. I wrote about it in my first book. I was a full-time musician, long story short of it all. Hey, man, next week we got a new band want to come through. We're going to put you in a new club. Next week came. I got a wife on pregnancy leave. I got a newborn baby. I stopped being full-time just playing music. That's when I went to graduate school, and the rest is history. And what's been a beautiful thing, concurrently in the field of education, I've never had to stop performing. I've never had to stop being a real estate investor. I've never had to stop doing the things I do in financial services. I've never had to stop speaking at all. So for me, I was trying to find something that would give me a win-win situation, Ryan. Do I have to give up what I really have that passion and purpose for, and can I still provide for my family? Boom, man, I went back to graduate school, and the rest is history. Here I am.
There you go. And so I think one thing you just mentioned there is a very relevant point for a lot of speakers and problems that they have. How did you go about and manage the balance between, that speaking career and speaking at speaking engagements and still in working full-time, real estate investing, doing all this stuff? How did you find a way to balance between those two?
Very good question. Focus, focus, focus. Persistence, persistence, persistence. It's something simply called the PC factor. You're persistent, you're consistent, you remain focused, things are going to happen. And honestly speaking, for me, it also involved me knowing that my health is my wealth. That is why I've always been conscientious of, I don't eat pork and beef, man. I cut a lot of things out of my diet. I try to watch the sugars. I just, and try to keep the stress down. And running for me, it was the common denominator. Obviously I'm teaching special needs kids. I'm coaching cross country in the afternoon, and I was performing still 6 nights a week in the top clubs in South Florida. I got 2 performances this weekend. I'm still performing. So that is when it comes back to, and I know that because that's my passion and my purpose. Once again, I knock on the door, the universe is giving me possibility. Be focused, be committed, have your timelines. If you're going to be a peak performer, I got my best results when I did something that I wrote. My second book is called 30 Days to a New You. When I wrote that book, I was trying to get people to understand, in order to be a peak performer, You've got to set these 30-day goals. You got to have these short-term objectives, and then you got to have a 12-month reflection. And you look back on that year. Let me tell you something. As a real estate investor, I had an elaborate party on my 60th birthday right here in my home. I'll never forget it, Ryan. And I woke up and I walked downstairs and I saw all the people that showed me so much love, man. I walk around the house, everybody slapping me $100 bills. I got caterers, I got my DJ, I got my guy playing sax. I mean, I'm 60 years old and just living. But I woke up and I made a commitment to be a real estate investor. I'm talking about really, really go at it. 1 month from that day, on my mother's birthday, February 23rd, 2015, I will never forget it, I inked my first rehab property. 30 days later, it was finished. You understand? And then I went to a real estate convention that same summer. I did a rotary notary. I said, I'm going to get my next property before I go to this real estate convention. And it was happening. And I'm being honest with you, man. If I tell anyone, that's it. Get your commitment, set your timelines. Because if you don't set a timeline, you don't set a goal, man, you know, you're wasting your time, you know. And honestly, it's back to the whole concept of what I'm here for. You are mind, body, and spirit. See, if you get to be a fanatic about your cognitive, but you don't stop and take care of yourself physically, or you're such a guy, you're in the gym all the time and you're a brainiac, but you don't spend time in quiet retreat. If I don't start my day in spirit, something wrong, Brian. If I don't start my day in spirit and I don't strive and be proud every day to get up, sit down, Psalm 46:10, not to get too religious with you. It says, be still and know that I'm God. Psalm 91, he who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. You alone are my refuge and my fortress. I put my trust in you. Cover me with your feathers, I say every day. On your wings shall I trust. Your truth is my shield and my buckler, my brother, every single day. If I don't do that before I walk out the door, I'm lying to you. Something wrong. My wife will tell you that. I've been in this house 20 years, and maybe the last 10 years of my life, I've just so been into this place where I know, especially when COVID happened, especially when COVID-19 happened, because I went through a real, like everyone in the world, this stressful moment. Literally, because I could and I was blessed, I was able to sell a lot of real estate. I have nice equity positions, and to this day, not a bankruptcy, not a foreclosure, but I just got deeper into myself spiritually. And when I did get deep into myself spiritually, I started to realize, okay, nothing comes before this. Your health is your wealth, but it's also mind, body, and spirit. So I tell all the aspiring speakers, anyone who's trying to do this, I'm 69 years old, man. I feel great. I've run 25 marathons. And until 2 years ago, I had a meniscus surgery. I'm walking, riding, bicycling now. But I went to my guy the other day. He's giving me a green light. I can get back out to run. So I'm just telling you, man, health is your wealth.
And for you in this multi-decade journey, you've wrote, how many books now has it been?
2 books.
2 books. And what was your mindset when you made those decisions? Hey, you know what? I'm going to write a book, because that's a really big decision to commit to. How did you go about making those decisions for both of your books?
I felt my story mattered. I heard Michelle Obama sitting down with Oprah. And she said, everybody's story matters. She said, and I thought to myself, that was when I was doing the second book. I'd already did the first book, but I said to myself, you know what? I know in 3 or 4 pages into this book, when you start getting into the reading, it'll simply be a picture of me standing there saying, if I've done it, you can do it. And I made a commitment. I'm back to that word focus, Ryan. I got this little chant I do, get fired up, get focused, 30 days to a new you. Get fired up, get focused, activate or stagnate. I mean, that mantra is just, it's in me, man. And affirmations of truth like that. You have to speak truth to yourself, man. You have to speak. I have spiritual mentors. My mentor, Reverend Davidson at Mount Olive Church, Joel Osteen. I'm giving plugs right now. T.D. Jakes. I'm giving plugs. Tony Evans. I'm giving plugs. Dr. David Jeremiah. I'm giving plugs. Stephen Furtick. All these guys who are out there in that world of religious empowerment, who are really on that platform. Find someone, because if you don't believe in something, man, you're going to fall for anything. And I don't want to put a lot of emphasis on this thing about being, and you don't have to be a spiritual fanatic, but you need to understand that, man, I've seen what I want to call in my life almost miracles of things that have happened to me, and I'm just here right now, and I'm telling you the absolute truth. Like even I mean, man, the idea that you write. How could I write a book? I work a job as a teacher every day. I was performing 6 nights a week. I bought an apartment building, man, and a duplex back then, you know, and it was pretty crazy, but I found that focus and I believed in myself and I went inside. I just went inside. I just found this place in me that anchored me, that tells me every day. And in my book, my dedication to my mother for taking me to church. She would have been 102 years old just about 2 weeks ago. She passed away 2 days before her 99th birthday. My father died at 87. So I might have a chance here, man. You know, I'm in the fourth quarter. So a brother looking for a little overtime.
And for you having these, I see this book right behind you. What is that book about? And that's one you're releasing pretty
Yeah,
soon.
that's the one that's the one that's in the marketplace right now. This is my baby here because honestly speaking, man, I made a big decision when I retired. I retired Memorial Day last year, 2023. It'll say here new edition there on my finger right there. And at the bottom right in there, it'll say 25-time marathoner. None of those things happened. This is a new edition of the book. But I said to myself, Gregory, you've never supported this message. You've never really been one to just totally, I mean, drop the ball, go full time, because I can still teach right now, man. Pretty good salary there, man. I no sense me lying to you, you know. So, but I made a commitment. I said, you know, I got to get out here. I have to do this. And I have to say to myself that it's time now. And I'm being honest with you. As soon as I made that commitment, 2 days later, a guy called me and I was a keynote speaker for Harvard International Private School. I did 2 days there. A week later, I did keynote speaker for the senior graduating class, West Broward High School. I finished my last 11 years at that high school, West Broward. 3 weeks later, I did a pro bono, just go out and host it for the best buddies. They called me back a month later. This is how the universe works. Not only did they have me to be their gala's keynote speaker and auctioneer, this time it wasn't pro bono. Got several $1,000s just to speak, man. So I'm telling people, once you make that commitment, once you get fired up, once you get focused, right here, the subtitle on that book says, Strategies for Your Personal and Business Life to Get and Stay Fired Up for Success. That's what this book about. There's a questionnaire in my book. It's called the PERC questionnaire. And that's Personal Empowerment Recognition Program. That's my nonprofit, giving it a plug. But Mind, Body, and Spirit questionnaire. Every reader will get that. They'll answer those questions, and then it'll fast forward to the end of the book. There's 4 weeks of strategies, but you have to sign that commitment to take the 30-day plunge. And if they do it, I put my life on it, man. I'm a living witness. I just can only tell you, you know, I get up when I'm fired up about something, and okay, this week I got to do this. This month I got to do this. Did I get that month? If I didn't get it, let me take reflection. See, just, you know, at the end of the day, the old saying is just, I'll take you to the well, Ryan, but you must be thirsty. I'll take you to the well, but you must be thirsty. And me, I'm thirsty right now as a speaker, as an author, as an entertainment specialist, as a keynote speaker, as an entrepreneur. Those things now are, I'm full circle, 365. I say strive with big pride for the grand prize of success. That's 24/7, 365. And if you do that, on page 68 in the book, there's a strive acronym: study, try, remember, innovate, have intention, visualize, and educate yourself forever. In my classroom for many years, you walk in, there was 3 words: knowledge is power.
Love it. And for the aspiring speakers out there that maybe they've done a few pro bono gigs, but they're kind of nervous to ask an event organizer to pay them. How did you go about that first time when you actually asked for a fee? Not when you were just giving it without asking. When you,
I'll be point blank honest with you, man. You know, I've never been nervous about asking somebody to pay me for my IP. We all have intellectual properties. And I call it the 4 effect that's always present: the innate, the intrinsic, the inherent, that which is inborn in you. You are supposed to be able to stand on that platform and say, I'm worthy. And the day that I decided to say I'm worthy, and I started to ask, and you know something, you're going to get plenty of no's, but somebody's going to say yes. The one thing anyone should not be afraid of is accepting rejection, accepting no. I heard TD Jakes, I got one of my little cards, one of my inspiration affirmations. Don't be daunted by what you deem as a failure in your life. They're only life experiences. I also have something I call every day you must get up to hit the home run. There are no strikeouts.
Mm.
You just keep going to bat. So to answer your question, of course, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen right away, and I'm talking about far away from the little $75 check I got when I got a check one day and looked up and saw that it was over $6,000 and all my books were bought. I got up once and spoke to somebody for 20 minutes and did that. And the next time, anywhere you can start anywhere in terms of pro bono. But at one point, you have to say back to what I said, is your intellectual property worth it?
Mm.
And we all got them. It may not be a speaker. It may be, you could be an artist. It could be anything that you're doing, you finally have to say it. Then it comes down to the power of negotiation, and even as an entertainer right now, man, I go through that constantly until my websites were set up. Unconditional plug, GregoryGriffithProductions.com. Those are two websites that, hey man, I'll be honest, I've said just like this with people, and in 15 minutes, contract done, because I finally decided I know I'm worthy. All anyone needs to do is say, yes, I can. See, it's easy to say, yes, I can when you believe in yourself, but when you say, oh, no, and who's winning in, and I got a YouTube about it, man. It's called The Fear Monster. The fear monster always wins the game if you just keep, you listen to that voice that's not spirit. God is never going to speak from a voice of fear. God is the only one you do fear, but fear, no, man. And I got a page in this book. It's called Fear versus Faith. And it was about the time, I will never forget it, as a young kid and I want to share a quick little story. I've been swimming all a long time, swimming, going to the pool and loving it. And I would go to the low diving board and I'd just jump off. I would even dive off. But one day I said, maybe I want to go to the high diving board, Ryan. And I decided to go to the high diving board. But something really strange happened. When I got to the high diving board and I walked out on the plank, the monster was winning. I turned around, but my brother was with me there. And he said, Gregory, you got up there. You got to do this. And all glory to God. So I went out. I looked, man. I walked back. And I said, I can do this. That was one of those yes, I can moments. And I went and I jumped off that high diving board. And guess what? Eventually, I started doing jumping jacks and swans, So it's the same thing with running marathons, my friend. I lie to you not. I could not run 4 laps around a track. It was killing me. I was just having a murderous time with it. And I finally said, man, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And then 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8. The next thing you do, I'm running up to 20 miles. And I finally said, man, I'm up this far. I can do a marathon. But then the monster came again. You over 40, you can't do it. You can't do it. And I mean, and it really, if it wasn't the fact that I was coaching cross country and I had to go out every day and run with these girls every day. And man, I ran my first marathon in 3 hours and 40 minutes. So for me, and I was pushing my 44th birthday. So I'm telling you, man, don't let the monster win. Don't let the monster win. If you keep saying no, it's the sure shot that you want. But if you just say yes, and your success is always there. And everybody tells you, man, everything I've ever done when I didn't go the distance, like for instance, I've never run the Boston Marathon, I'll be honest with you. I ran the Jacksonville Marathon here. I needed a 3:25. I got a 3:29. 3 minutes and 30 seconds off. Never trained again for it, but the monster won that one. The monster won. I'll just be perfectly honest. All I needed to do, the glass was already half full, go out and do it again, and I would have conquered it. But I didn't. And that was a classic example of me being honest with myself. I don't think I can. And it got further and further and further away from me. And anything in life, the more you procrastinate, that's why the book is called Activate or Stagnate. We all procrastinate. Yeah. We all sit on the dock of bay of life. You heard that old song by Otis Redding, right? You ever heard that song? Well, you're a young buff. Well, Otis Redding is a classic singer that passed many years ago. Go on YouTube that song or Google it. The lyrics go like this: sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, watch them roll away again. I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. And that's what the song is about, being a big procrastinator. And man, every time I decided to do something and got off that bench of procrastination, kicked the fear monster off my back, to everyone listening to this right now, I truly believe, man, you're always closer than you think. Like right now, this has really been a challenge for me. I'm not going to lie to you. I retired from the school system. I grabbed my pension, ran out of the door and said, bye-bye. And I haven't looked back. And I'm not going to say it hadn't been without a challenge, but you know something? The universe gave me possibility. Remember, passion, purpose, possibility. P3, I'm going to say it again. Passion, purpose, the universe will give you possibility. I'm huge on that. I'm huge on that.
Question for you. You mentioned that moment on the diving board, the high diving board. There's a moment that a lot of speakers go through. That moment right when you've already seen the entire audience and you're about to walk on stage. That's that moment where the fear monster, like you're talking about, is like, it's speaking to you really loud.
Guess what? I still get them. I still get them. And I say, shut up. And the monster screaming loud. Oh, I got you now. I got you now. But you know what, man? Honestly, like I was up there in New Orleans, man, and I had this song that I opened with, Ain't No Stopping Us Now. Just a powerful, just message song that I'm an entertainment speaker. I sing and speak, you know. So for me, when I got a good song that as soon as I kick in those, there's been so many things that have held me down, but now it look like things are finally coming around. When I hit that just like that, ain't no stopping us now. When I kick that in, honestly, man, it's back to what I said. Feel the fear and know you can get the job done anyway. Anita Baker, one of the greatest singers ever, man. She said, man, the butterflies still come when I go on my gigs. And this woman been doing it for 30, 40 years. I'll never forget her talking about that. Another guy, Phil Donahue, I think was his name, talk show guy. He talked about that. Everyone speaks about that. You're going to get those little bubbles in your stomach. You're going to get your heartbeat racing a little more. You know, I was sitting there with my wife last month, man, at Nova University, just sitting there waiting for my time, and I was like, wow, man, this is top shelf. This is the stage. And you get those little bubbles. You get those little feelings. You get up, but if you prepare yourself, you're confident in yourself. You know that you have a message that matters. Honestly, man, it's going to happen. Every football player in the Super Bowl always talking about it. Man, I'm out there jumping. I'm doing my scrimmages, man. I'm getting loose. I'm getting ready. But, man, my stomach jumping. I don't know what to do. But as soon as that first kickoff, boom! And you know, listen, come on, that's the biggest stage you could ever imagine, a Super Bowl, and you hear players talking about that. So you got to feel the fear and get the job done anyway. And I'll tell anyone, when the monster wins, you didn't have enough faith. When the fear monster wins, you didn't have enough faith. And I'm talking about anything in life, man. You know the Donnie McClurkin song, we fall down, but we get up. Man, you're going to fall down. I don't who was somebody I was just watching the other day was really deep about that. It was TD Jakes, yeah. Man, you know how many times I failed and tried to let that knock me out of the park. But Joel Osteen talking about it. They all talk about it because you know something? I think they're doing the very thing that I'm trying to quantify today. Keep going to bat, man. The worst mistake you can do is stop going and grabbing the bat of life and swinging it. If you keep swinging it, you want to be a speaker, start speaking. And pro bono didn't mean nothing to me. All I wanted to do 20, 30 years ago in my life was just stand in front of people. And when they gave me that platform in my school's auditorium, do you know something, Ryan? I went from 100 people that day. My wife will tell you. Every year I did that program, but by the time I left that high school, 16 years later, one of the last years I was going to do it, 900 people. All the people in the community that work with me, all the teachers who gave our kids chances. My program became a staple. And because I said, I think I can. And the last year that I didn't get to do it in my high school, there were some booking differences and things going on. Guess what happened? You heard that through Marjorie Stoneman Douglas where they had the unfortunate mass killings. I was invited to that high school. I was doing my pro bono every year in my high school. Another high school invites me, paid me $2,500, and the rest is history. That's my point. And I didn't even expect that. But because I was what? I was fired up. I was focused. I got this thing say that when you're personally empowered with relentless enthusiasm and you're excited and energized, nothing can stop you.
Mm.
Nothing can stop you. And you know something? If I can say this and leave this in a very serious note, man, I've been there many times when I say, oh man, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I don't feel like this. Especially when you're speaking from a physical perspective, when I went to run my first marathon, bro. I you remember now, I'm a full-time teacher. I'm performing 6 nights a week. I'm coaching in the afternoon with these kids, but I still got to find the time to train myself. It's the same thing when I went back to graduate school. To even get the money to go to graduate school, to pass the graduate entrance test. I mean, if I could sit and tell you how many times I felt like, oh man, that's a high hurdle there. I don't know if I can. And you know something, man? I just said yes, I can. And I'm sure where you are, even in this position which you are with me right now, Ryan, I'm sure you can quantify the very thing I'm telling you. There will be challenges.
You know it, yeah. And you've been speaking, over 30 years now, seeing what you've seen with the industry changing and evolving over all these years. Where do you see the industry going of speaking on a more macro sense?
Well, the word you used there is very, very interesting, macro. See, we can micromanage and do seminars and webinars, but man, I went to an event, unconditional plug, a company called Life Surge. I went to an event the first weekend in December, live event all day. And for what I invested in that event and what I got from it, man, the big picture looks real good. People post COVID want to get out. Companies want to give inspiration, empowerment, motivation. They want to give people alternatives to the norm. Of course, there may be hybrid situations going in and staying home and all that, but people right now, I think they just want to be fired up. People want to be focused. People want to see and hear stories about post-COVID, what's going on. And I think the big picture, honestly speaking, and the economy being better, people are spending more money, making more money. Companies or bottom lines are looking a lot better. So the opportunities are literally infinite. And for me, I mean, I've just witnessed it. I've just witnessed the last year of my life, man. Just a lot of opportunity. So at the end of the day, all I can tell you is this. Yes, I think the big picture looks good. But we have to do this. We have to knock on that door. I mean, selling yourself, marketing yourself. That's why I'm here with you today. Is I think that part of it, that challenge will never ever go away. That you have to find your niche market. You have to find what really works for you. Now, see, for me, I'm a child of the 50s. So deprivation has been my greatest motivation. And that is why if I can say to anyone, if I've done it, you can do it. I'm speaking truth, man. I didn't meet my father until I was 50 years old, man. My older brother, my only brother, has been the greatest inspiration as far as a father figure in my life because what I saw him do. When I was 6 years old, my brother was 18, 12 years between us. I saw him go away to college. I said, I'm going to college. My brother graduated college 4 years later. I said, I'm going to graduate from college also. My brother went to Florida A&M University. I went to Florida A&M University. My brother was in the Marching 100 as a trumpet player. He gave me my first trumpet. My point is this. You see, some people have motivations from different areas in their lives. Mine has been, I didn't come up with the silver spoon. I didn't come up with somebody giving me, I came up with a mother that believed in God, took me to church, had 5 children. I'm in the middle of those 5, brother and sister older than me who were like parents because my mom was out working all the time. My younger sister's under me. And to this day, man, that fired me up. In the 60s growing up, I don't even have the time to tell you what I experienced being an African American in this country. I'm just speaking truth. So, baby, we've come a long way. I'm so proud to be sitting here right now. I just left one of the most prestigious high schools in the country. I was able to go to one of the greatest universities to get my master's degree. So, hip, hip, hooray, we've come a long way. But there's work to be done. Mm. There's really work to be done. So, the big picture, man, it looks great. And to answer your question, the macro picture looks great.
And kind of you having left, the steady job now, diving into speaking as more of a full-time gig. How do you go about securing new gigs? It sounds like, a lot of your previous gigs were all referral. You delivered so much value from stage that the high schools were calling each other and the events were saying, hey, get him here, you need him.
That's exactly what happens. Once you, like right now, my wife would tell you because of the book tour that's coming up with Barnes and Nobles. That book tour, I got some speaking engagements I'm setting up in between that. Churches I've spoken to. I just went and autographed for my minister in my church Sunday and the assistant manager. I gave them personalized copies, and we've already talking about a date for me to come into the church and do some strategic, should I say, strategies with the young people as well as those in the congregation. So my example is that, and you got to just find, and you know something, man, like I said, there's a million ways to skin a cat. You can skin it. It's just no one way to do it. Now me, because I have a background in education, I'm going to move forward in that arena as a consultant, as a coach, as me being a guy who has 30 years plus in real estate investments. I'm not only just going to be going out speaking about my book, I will train people to get into real estate. As a guy who's had a #1 single in Billboard with my singer Rachel Brown, many years ago, when I knew what I went through to get that, I formed my record label, Urban Music Group, that still exists. I know that all of those things were part of me developing. Once again, if you got the intellectual properties, you got to have them. That's your credential. That allows you to knock on the door. If you don't have them from a mind, body, and spirit, then that means your mental sector, your cognitive abilities need to be what? Expanded. Remember, we're only using 10% of this, man. You can always go back to school. And I love hearing these stories of somebody is 60, 70, 80, going back to school, doing what they do. And when I did get that #1 single that I was just telling you about, buddy, that was a grind. But this girl right here, my wife just handed me a call. This young lady right here, Rachel Brown, she had this #1 single in Billboard that we were blown away, man. We looked up, and to this day, I can say as a record company and her manager and working, and we still perform together to this day. I still work with this young lady. And she was a teacher just like myself. Her husband was a teacher. She retired from it. She left it. Well, she didn't retire. She stopped working it. Excuse me. She never retired. They never retired. They decided, I just want to go music full time. And guess what? To this day, she's still doing it. So to answer your question, honestly speaking, wherever you feel you have a niche market, and that's what I said to you, man. Some people are just fortunate enough that they can just jump into speaking. That's all they do. I couldn't. I had to keep teaching. I had to keep performing. I found a way to buy properties that nobody would never understand. And I found the owner financing factor, man. I sat with someone just like this many years ago and did a very special podcast for them about how to get into real estate. And it's true. You don't really need to have a lot of money. You just have to know the best ways to find ways to get the financing to make it work. And then you got to find the right components that will give you the opportunities to move forward. It's a process. There's no sense of me buttering this up to you. Nothing as the old saying goes, Ryan, you're going to go through to get to, but you must trust the process. You must trust the process, because if you don't, you got apprehensions. You're uncertain about yourself. You got these, man. That is when you got to get on your knees a little more in the morning. You got to get up and you got to get on the phone a little bit more. And all things you got to still know your health is your wealth. See, balance is critical. It may sound like a simple little thing to say. You got to find the balance. It ain't easy. It's something I call organized chaos when you're living without it. You just keep doing everything and all over the place. But when something's speaking to you, you better listen, man. When my mind said to me, you know what, you need to go back to school. This music thing is cool, man. And I realized my first son, Greg Jr., man, I went through a lot with that. I was right out of high school, man. I just had a kid. I didn't know where to go in my life. And I'll share this with you, and this is the absolute truth. Every one of my friends had the same scenario I had that was around me. We had children. We were very young. But let me tell you something, man. All of them, I was the only one stayed in college. I was the only one that said, I got to get this degree because I can provide for my son for the rest of my life. When it came time for me to pay child support, I had no problems. When his mom took me to court and wanted me to pay more money, and there was a line, long as you could imagine, of people who had paid it all. And he simply said that. The judge said, do you realize he don't owe you nothing? He's doing the best he can. And I've never, ever not done that. Never, ever not done that. Do the best I can with what I got. And you know something, man? At the end of the day, you look back, you know something? That's why the rearview mirror is small, Ryan. You looking back, there's something in my book I call NOW. We have no other way. We only have now. Remember that. You look in the rearview mirror and you know something? Like I can do that, and I still have issues with it. I reflect upon the COVID era because believe me, I wish I still had several million in the real estate that I sold back then because I had to. I wish, but am I going to hold myself hostage? Am I going to beat myself down about that? And no, you look forward. And you know, nobody knows what the future holds, but you do have now. So I say to anyone, once you've decided to do it, just stay in active pursuit. Remember I said, one of the first questions you asked me, man, how do you do it? And I said that one word, focus. Then I said what? The PC factor. Consistency, persistence. And if I have to give all the listeners that little recap on this, be persistent, be consistent, but above all things, remain focused, man, and have that faith in you. Because, you know, Hebrews 11:1 in the Bible says it's the assurance of things hoped for, the belief in that which you cannot see. And that faith factor, if I tell you anything else that's kept me going from the time I had my youngest son to my oldest son, something in me just kept me believing that I could. Like when I went to college, because of my brother. I finally met my dad too, man. I didn't meet him until I was 50 years old, but when I met him, it was one of these moments in my life that actually, we don't have time to even discuss it, but it was like, I prayed about it. My wife knew it. She said, man, one day I just want to meet my father. I want to know where my gene pool is. What's up? And I got to spend about 10 years of my life with him. He passed away at 87. Matter of fact, this summer will be 10 years ago, you know? And all I can say to you is that was nothing but the universe answering and hearing me. So to all your listeners, stay fired up, stay focused, sit your 30-day timelines, realize that you are the captain of your ship. You're here to make your contribution. Your courage and your confidence will take you beyond measure. And as Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama sit there and said, your story matters.
And for those aspiring speakers that they have that story, they're just scared to get on stage and maybe don't know how, what message do you have for them?
The very same thing I said, you got to feel the fear and get the job done anyway. You have to say, you know what, man? I think I can. I think I can. And let me tell you something, man. This may sound corny to you, but if you went up there in my little man cave for spirituality, which is my bathroom, and you looked around, there's nowhere on the wall to write. There's nowhere on the wall to write. If I could go up those steps and tell you right now, because there's everything, welcome to Earth School. Spirit is your teacher. You know, you must have an inner vision to make the revision. Everything you could imagine. Joshua 1:9, don't fear or be dismayed. Deuteronomy 31. All of these things are right there. And one of the most important ones I got, and I'm going to lean in a little closer. I am an amazing expression of God. On my wrist right now, I got my hand up here kind of crazy. There's a little band here that says, God is, I am. Right there. You can see that. God is, I am. When I give this to someone, I've been so inspired by them that I want them to know God is in you, God is in me, God is, I am. We're all expressions of spirit. I always say there's all these different races and all that, but we're one human race, and we're all here to synergize and be as one. And that is why I think my story matters. Because, man, I've accomplished things in my life that when I was a 6-year-old and my brother went to college and I started making those declarations about what I want to do, you know, everything in life tried to stop me. So the fear monster will try to stop you. Tell anybody right now, fear the fear and say yes anyway. That's if the last thing I say to answer your question, you're going to fear that fear. Every single person who's been successful will tell you that, and you're going to have some times when the outcome is not exactly what you wanted, but fear the fear and get the job done. As my book says, fear versus what? Faith.
Love it. Well, let's say we've been listening and I've found what you're saying so valuable. Where can I find you?
Thank
online,
you.
on socials? Where can I find you?
Well, I'm on all of the social media platforms. Gregory_Griffith on Instagram, on Facebook, Gregory Griffith. I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube. I'm there. All they got to do is go out and follow me and be fired up with everything that I'm doing. I'm always plugging reels on Instagram and Facebook constantly. So if you want to get some more of this, there's plenty already there on my story. Just go out and just click my history and you'll find it. And the book right here, all my notes in this book that I've been looking at and dealing with. This book is on Amazon.com. It's in Barnes and Nobles. It can be put anywhere in the world. If you want me as your speaker, if you want me as your trainer, as your coach, all you got to do is let me know when and where I'll be there. The book will come before me. But activator, stagnator is a powerful, should I say, metaphor for life.
Well, there we go.
That's the
Well,
way
Greg,
we take action.
there we go.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for being here and providing this value to the aspiring speakers out there, to the business professionals out there, to the speakers out there that maybe just need a little bit of PPP, as you call it, right?
Oh, yeah. That P3 is, let me tell you something, man. I don't want to cut you off, but
You're good.
every time I speak, it's amazing. No matter when I speak, and my wife would tell you, somebody will sit, man, that PP3 got me, Greg. And see, you mentioned it. I didn't ask you to do that. It's there. It's like a permanent imprint. Passion, purpose, possibilities. Come on, say it with me, Ryan. Passion, purpose, possibilities. Theactivator.net. That's my website. GregoryGriffithProductions.com. You can find me on all the social media platforms. I'm excited, man. I thank you so much for this opportunity, man.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Cheers, y'all. Hope you found value.
Oh, no doubt. I hope they did too, man.